Alright, there's a couple things that I would like to do to introduce what we're doing today. The first thing is this is your first flip video that we will really officially have for homework this year. The second thing is there are some things that I do expect you to do as you're watching the video. Now the directions that you're going to have, where you're going to find exactly what you do are going to be actually written in the directions below the video, and I have it typed out in the blog for you. So if you're not sure what to do, you just look below, right down there, and you find out exactly what I'm supposed to do. Now I will have what page you write these things down on in your notebook, and obviously if I took the time to write it out on these whiteboards for you, I expect you to write it in your notebook. That means you're probably going to have to pause the video sometimes, maybe even go back to make sure you've gotten everything you need to get. But that's really the idea of these videos, is it kind of differentiates what we're doing. So if you're somebody that's really quick and you can get it done fast, great. And if you're somebody that takes a little longer and needs to hear it a couple times, I will say it over and over and over and it won't even bother me. So that's what I'm going to expect first, is that you're going to know to write these things down. And again, it says where you do it right below this video. So the first thing is, our first standard that we're looking at is 7.E.1.1, which is to compare the composition, properties, and structure of the Earth's atmosphere to include mixtures of gases and differences in temperature and pressure within the layers. And what this video is really going to tell you is what all those blue words really mean. So write those down, like I said, on that page it says down below. Now the first thing is you've heard of the word climate, but a climate is actually defined by the average temperature, precipitation and humidity, air pressure, and wind over time in a particular place. So North Carolina, the western part of North Carolina, has its own climate, and you go to the beach and you have a different climate. You go north and you have a climate. You go south. Even if you go from here to Boone, you've got different climates going on, and it's all defined by the average temperature, precipitation, humidity, air pressure, and wind over time in a particular place. Now, when we talk about a lot of weather things, we're looking at atmosphere. Atmosphere is actually the mixture of gases that you find in the atmosphere. And what are those gases? You have 78% of it is nitrogen, 21% is oxygen, 0.93% is argon, and CO2, or carbon dioxide, what you breathe out, is actually 0.04% of the atmosphere. Now here you have an assignment. I want you to write this on a separate piece of paper because you're going to need to turn it in tomorrow. And what you're going to do is you're going to take these numbers and you're going to make a circle graph. Okay? And I want you to show me how much of that pie graph or circle graph is represented by nitrogen, and how much of it is oxygen, and how much is argon, and it's carbon dioxide. Okay, so that's something you must do to turn in for tomorrow. Now, the atmosphere, the mixture of gases, is really pretty constant all through the troposphere. Now, troposphere is not a brand new word for you, and we're going to mention it again a little bit later in this video, but a troposphere is actually the inside layer of the atmosphere, the one closest to the Earth, and you should already know that from our foldable that we worked on today. All right, the next thing is that the gases in the atmosphere are constantly being used up and renewed, but I told you they were constant, right? So the rate that they're used up and the rate that they're renewed is fairly constant. The way that that happens is through respiration and photosynthesis, and they're actually chemical equations that are opposites from each other. And everything is happening in a cycle. Or evaporation and condensation, which you're going to learn as we do the water cycle later on this month. Or weathering, and that's when rocks get smoothed down or sand gets blown around. Or decay of organic material, and basically, folks, that's like when a tree branch falls and it rots, or an animal dies and it decays. That's what decay of organic matter is. Now here we have a lovely top of the Earth, and I have these layers of the atmosphere that, again, we're going to talk about in a little bit. Now, the layers of the atmosphere go from closest to further out. The further down you go towards the Earth, you have increased atmospheric pressure, or air pressure. Now, if you think about like a tire on your car or on your bicycle, you would hear about the words air pressure. And you know, if it's increased or it's decreased, it makes a difference. So the atmospheric pressure is actually the weight of the Earth's atmosphere pressing down on the Earth. The closer you are to the Earth, the more stuff you have stacked up on it, so the air pressure is increased. The further out you go from the Earth, it's decreased. So air pressure, it changes all over the Earth's surface, and it is responsible for the weather. Now, if you watch like Larry Sprinkle or any other weatherman, that's just one I can think of because he's got a nifty weatherman name, he talks about low pressure systems and high pressure systems. Low pressure systems are associated with storms. You know those storms we've been working on for your project? They're tornadoes. You've got hurricanes, and this is showing you where the eye of the hurricane is, or thunderstorms where you're looking at lightning, or these lovely, lovely snowflakes for a blizzard. And it's more than just snow that happens in a blizzard. You should be learning that there are more criteria to actually make it that. There's more criteria to make a hurricane, but those are the four major things that are associated with low pressure systems. Now, high pressure systems means fair weather. So if you're watching, if you've got on the local on the 8s when you're getting ready for school in the morning, and you hear it's a high pressure system, you know it's going to be a pretty day. And that's what a lot of times we like to see. All right, here we go. Now another thing is here we have a mountain. This is Mount Everest in my mind, or any other tall peak on the earth. As you go up the mountains, you have a decreased atmospheric pressure, and you actually have less oxygen. There's something that's called the death zone, and we will learn about that, but you need to know that as you go up the mountains, or up big inclines like that, you actually have a decreased atmospheric pressure. Why? Right, because you have less stuff piled up on top of you. Now, we have this other Earth picture here. It's lovely. You have the equator that goes along. That's not a new concept for you. It goes along the center of the Earth. And you have the poles that go up and down. Okay, at the equator, the atmosphere is warmer. You knew that. Sometimes it's so hot that they can fry an egg on the sidewalk. And the poles are cooler. Okay, now the uneven heating of the Earth actually causes convection currents, and those convection currents cause the wind. Sometimes there's no wind. That's not good. Sometimes there's too much wind, and that's bad too. But that's what that all means. And then finally, this is just a little bit of a review, because today in class you're making a foldable, and you may have to finish it tomorrow. I'm not sure how long it will take. You have the Earth, and you have all the different layers. You've got the troposphere. You need to know about that and what happens in there and what is the composition of matter in there. You've got the stratosphere, which is up a little higher, the mesosphere or mesosphere, you can say it either way and it can be correct, the thermosphere, and the exosphere. Now you might have noticed there's something similar in all of them, and that's this sphere word. Sphere actually means round or circle. That's a word part you're going to probably want to be able to use. So make sure you've got all these notes down. Make sure you've done the assignments, and I'll be seeing you tomorrow.